Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel. You joined me in the 2024 Subaru Outback Touring XT, which is the turbocharged version of the most fully loaded Outback you can currently equip for the 24 model year. Now, as I mentioned in my dedicated likes and dislikes video, this is going to be a sort of different driving and overall review video of this vehicle because I am actually traveling up to the 2024 Mama Spring Rally up at, of course, Road America. If you guys have been around on the channel, you know I did attend last year, and I actually took an Ioniq 6 electric vehicle, which, you know, presented its own challenges in that it was my first real fully electric road trip. Well, this time I'm taking a, normal traditional ICE vehicle, and we're currently sitting over about 2/3 of a tank of fuel, which should get me nearly all the way there, if not just barely squeak by, as it is about 260 miles from my current location. The vehicle's saying I have about 210 miles of estimated range, but that's basing it on about 18 mpg, which I've been averaging in mostly city type of driving. So that obviously will go up as the fuel economy gets better on the trip. So I'm really not too worried about it because at the end of the day, it's an ICE vehicle. You get gas at pretty much any corner, out on major interstates or, around town, anything like that. Now, basically, the goal of this video is just going to give you my road trip and overall week-long review of this vehicle. As I noted in my likes and dislikes, once again, there's a lot of positive aspects about this vehicle that I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed, and a couple negatives here and there, but I think overall it is one of the more positive Subaru experience I've had in a while, which is great to see. So I'm going to catch up with you guys in a little bit out after we get traveling out on the interstate. Get a little bit of mileage under the belt, see what our overall MPG seems to be tracking after, maybe 30-45 minutes of driving, and start the overall road trip review video, if you will. Now, I am only making it a one-way trip. I'm not doing a round trip at about 270 miles both ways. So the total road trip will be, just under 300 miles of total mileage, as I am bringing a very, very cool and special vehicle back, which I'm very excited about to spend a little bit of extended time with that particular vehicle, which has been featured on the channel last year, and I'm excited to experience it once again. So you joined me just a few minutes into the trip, and I specifically wanted to focus this clip on some of the driver assistance technology that this vehicle has. Now, one thing that out on the roadway, there's actually a former construction zone that we're currently in, and we're kind of going in and out as we drive on Interstate 88. If you're familiar with Interstate 88 out of the Quad Cities area, then you'll know, I think it was last year, last time I was through here actually, there was some, construction on certain sections of this roadway, and there was actually a section of double white lines, or the dash lines in the middle of the two lanes, that the system was absolutely having a fit with. Now, I'm sure a lot of vehicle technologies would have a fit, kind of, telling which one it should follow if there's two different versions of the same white line for the kind of roadway itself. But the Eyesight system is actually having a hard time maintaining the lane markings and kind of where it should be within the lane itself. I've noticed kind of it bouncing back and forth. It is a slightly windy day. I think there's actually gusts of, maybe like 20 miles an hour. It is not a calm day by any means, but it is having, some issues here and there, finding where it should maintain the center of the lane with the active lane centering assist enabled. So I understand that the lane markings are not the clearest and they're not the brightest things out on this roadway. They are quite faded. But I would say, like for example, right now, it's only tracking the left lane because it cannot find the dashed white lines in the middle. So it is, somewhat veering towards the left side of the lane when really it should be more in the center of the roadway. And I think other systems out there might have a better, lane tracking capability in terms of following the lane markings, even when they are as faded as this roadway. But that's just something I have noticed driving on this roadway thus far, is that the system is seemingly having a hard time, figuring out where it should be in the middle of the lane due to both the wind as well as the lane markings out on the actual roadway. Okay, so you joined me about 35 minutes later from the last clip when I was just setting out, and I have a couple of things, one of which I already talked about in the last clip. That's the driver assistance technology. Certainly not ideal for, out on the interstate and doing these long distance road trips, especially with the additional challenge of the wind today, that is somewhat of a crosswind. But other aspects that I've really been enjoying or just, found to like and or dislike here in the Outback is, well, I have the seat adjusted to a very comfortable position, especially when you factor in the manual leg extension or thigh extension. Absolutely fantastic in terms of the seats. They're not the most plush things out there in terms of the actual seat bottom itself, but when paired with that leg extension and the Napa leather seating surfaces, man, these seats are very, very good for a long road trip. The interior volume and noise levels are actually really good, I think, for all factors considered. It is, once again, fairly windy outside, and that's the main noise that I'm hearing. But fuel economy is sitting at about 27 to 28 mpg so far. I actually forgot to reset trip B when I first left, so I was about 20 miles in when I realized that. It's staying 220 miles of estimated range, and we've already driven over, about 35, 40 miles or so. So far I think we're gaining quite a bit of range based on our nearly 10 mpg better out here on the interstate at 77 miles an hour. So that by itself is actually pretty darn impressive. Stereo system with the Harman Kardon premium audio, very, very good. Have been enjoying that quite a bit. Overcomes the wind and ambient road noises with absolute ease. I have turned off the eye tracking or the facial driver attention assist. It's way too sensitive. You'll go to adjust something on the infotainment screen or look out the side window, anything like that, and it's yelling at you to keep your eyes on the road, pay attention nonstop. So I went ahead and disabled that. It's one simple checkbox, which is very nice. Ventilated seats, I've left it on stage 1, and well, that's weird. The whole active lane centering just turned off. Continuing on, visibility, everything like that's absolutely not a problem. Fantastic. You can see easily over the hood. You have these nice door-mounted side mirrors, which allows for a ton of additional visibility out the little quarter window glasses here on either side. So that's just kind of a Subaru design element over the years that they've kept, and I think it is adds for a favorable driving experience here in this vehicle. Digital camera mirrors working fine as well. There's a lot of adjustability, so I do like that about this digital mirror versus some of the other competition, where they don't have quite as much in terms of adjustment, in terms of brightness, tilt, your zoom level, everything like that. So really do appreciate Subaru allowing the additional adjustability there. But I think that, and the fact that there is no wireless charging pad in this vehicle is an absolute bummer. Not exactly sure why that is, once again, but basically I have to trade off my smartphone charging it, because wireless Android Auto does draw a little bit more battery than that of either plugging it in or traditional wired Android Auto. So I'm basically balancing one cord, charging the GoPro, charging my phone, and charging the additional battery packs I have available for the GoPro, which is not ideal, but it shouldn't be an issue given these are a 3 amp USB-C charging. So it is a fairly quick, middle of the road charge speed. But the fact that there's no wireless charging for the phone really does suck. Okay, so you joined me here going through Rockford, Illinois on, I believe, I-39. This is right at the halfway point in terms of distance for me. And ever since we started going north, the wind has been more of a tailwind, or more towards from the rear of the vehicle. So MPG has started really shooting up, even though I'm still maintaining in the mid 70 mile an hour average speed on this journey. So we are currently at 28.6 MPG, which is about 2 MPG better than I was averaging before I started heading north on I-39. Still a very quiet ride. Now that we have started driving north and we're not dealing with the crosswind, the interior has been much quieter, and what one would expect, I think, for a vehicle in this class and price point. But I will say my bottom, or my butt, has been starting to feel a little bit of that seat stiffness going through, given we are just over 2 hours into the trek. So I would say these are not going to be the most comfortable seats out there. They're a little bit on the harder side. But I think for, a 3 or 4 hour journey nonstop, which this vehicle can easily do, especially with a full tank, in non-windy conditions, then I think that's about the right time frame of where you want to stop, get out of the vehicle, walk around, take a break, just because there is going to be a little bit of body fatigue from what I'm noticing so far. One thing I do want to discuss, I guess, is the infotainment system. Now, if you've watched my dedicated likes or dislikes video, then you'll know how I feel about this infotainment system. Still not my favorite. I don't like the vertical orientation. I don't like some of the performance aspects with the hardware behind the screen itself, and really not a huge fan of the UI and the software either. But I will say, out on a long road trip where you're not turning the vehicle on and off frequently, say getting in and out of the vehicles within 10, 15, 20 minutes, like you might going into a store, around the city, anything like that, I think it is behaving a little bit better. It's, fine in terms of responsiveness. Wireless Android Auto has not had any hiccups whatsoever, so it's stayed connected to the vehicle, and music has been streaming without issues. So I think I have a slightly more favorable opinion out here on the interstate of this infotainment system, just because it's not restarting and rebooting like you do in-town type of driving. All right, so I just had to stop and take a very quick restroom break. I tend to always make it to this exact same rest stop on this drive. At least this is my third time stopping here. But anyways, one interesting thing about the Subaru is that it turned the driver monitoring system back on upon restarting the vehicle. So it does not stay off between drives. You must have to go into the actual vehicle settings each time upon each key ignition cycle to turn that system on and off. So a little bit of a bummer there. So I just encountered some traffic actually that for some reason people don't like to use their cruise control systems, whether that's the standard or the adaptive type. But one thing I did notice is that on the regular or standard adaptive cruise control reactive setting, the system's not that fast to respond. It's okay, but I would certainly probably change that to the fastest reaction time available within the software of the system, because it does take a little bit for the system to actually start speeding back up after either a vehicle enters into the right lane, or you need to say pass somebody in the right lane because they're hogging the left lane, going and varying their speeds. But that's just something, kind of again in relation to the driver assistance tech, is a lot of these small details that are very odd in the Subaru versus that of some of the other manufacturers I've been in, that I would like to tweak. And good thing is you can customize that here a little bit, but between the lane centering system not liking the lane markings or its behavior and the reactive stuff with the adaptive cruise control, it's just interesting to experience some of this. Because it varies widely between different manufacturers' vehicles that you're in. Man, it sure is amazing what getting close to the lake really does to not only temperature, but just ambient conditions. Man, we were probably 5 miles out from the edge of the water or something like that, and all of a sudden the temperature just started falling. And I saw this morning there was a dense fog advisory in effect up here, and have to say it is still extremely foggy with visibility is probably at a mile at best, and it's currently 59 degrees outside, and I think the warmest I saw on our trip up here was like 87 or something like that. So about a solid 25 degree swing in just a matter of like a half hour, 45 minutes as we got closer to the water just outside Rockford. So yep, we are currently 41 miles and 41 minutes away from arriving. Hopefully it's not this foggy the entire rest of the way up there, because that would sure be a bummer. But I'm sure once we go inland a little bit further towards Elkhart Lake and everything, it should start clearing up a good bit. MPG is slowly climbing once again here at 29.2 MPG at 190 miles traveled on trip B, so about 205 total since I forgot to reset that originally. So it says 110 miles of fuel remaining, and we only have less than 40 miles to go. So we have absolutely plenty of fuel left in the tank, and I could really see this vehicle being quite the road trip warrior if you're, got a full tank, getting, at least 28, 29, 30 mpg out on the highway, doing just absolutely like 500 plus miles between fill-ups. I think that is definitely a positive I've noticed here with this vehicle. But outside of that, nothing really to report on anything major. But I'll catch you guys when we arrive here in about 40 minutes or so. So we just made it. I want to give you guys kind of a final recap as to stats, MPG, everything like that. 29.8 MPG, 70 miles to go worth of range, 200 and I think it was, like I said, 255, 258 miles total. I didn't reset trip B just in time as we left. And we're currently here at 320, and I made 2 quick stops for about probably 10-15 minutes total. So we beat Google Maps' time, which is always my goal. If you guys travel a lot, I think that's a lot of people's goal, actually. So no, overall road trip was fantastic. Had the overall enjoyable experience here in the Outback. I just think the seat comfort's a little bit on the firm side for those longer distance trips. 2 hours, not a problem. Anything after that, I really kind of started to feel it. Mainly the bottom cushion in and of itself. MPG seems fantastic. It really seemed to excel once you started slowing down below 70 miles an hour. Right around 65, it just started shooting up. And I mean, the fact we got nearly 30 MPG average is quite good, and basically meets or exceeds the EPA figures for the turbo engine option in this vehicle. Sound system's great. Infotainment system's okay on the longer distance. Not my preference, but not so bad because it's not restarting and slowly booting up like in-town city driving. Like all the ergonomics and amenities on the inside, the Subaru's Eyesight could use a little bit help, not gonna lie, as far as that goes. Seems to wander around the lane markings and in the middle of the lane, so it doesn't really do lane centering all that well. Adaptive cruise control works fairly good, especially when you put it in the dynamic or the most reactive setting on the infotainment vehicle settings. So no complaints there. No wireless phone charger. That's a real big bummer in my opinion. Not sure why that's omitted. But yeah, interior materials are fantastic. The Napa leather, especially with this brown color, is very good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and or found something helpful. If you did, as always, make sure to hit that like button below. It greatly helps out the channel, these videos. Subscribe if you guys haven't already, and make sure to stay tuned for my coverage of the 2024 Mama Spring Rally. Really cannot wait. Very exciting stuff. Some awesome vehicles are going to be here in attendance, including that one that's currently backing out, although that is not a rally vehicle. So good news for me is it won't get too beat up during the next couple days. And super excited to drive some more Subarus, including the all-new 2025 Forester. Very interested to compare that here with the Outback, because I know this vehicle is a little bit older in terms of its generation. So we'll be interested in comparing an all-new version to this vehicle, which has been around for a couple years. And of course, drive all the vehicles from the other manufacturers. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this kind of different driving road trip review, if you will. I know it's kind of a little bit all over the place, but hopefully that gives you a basic rundown of my thoughts with this vehicle. Mostly positive, a few negatives here and there, but if you can overcome those negative aspects, then I think this is a worthy vehicle to look at for the low $40,000 price point as equipped. You might be able to get a lesser trim level with not everything that this vehicle has to offer, maybe one step down, which might be kind of the sweet spot for the turbo engine in specific. But let me know your thoughts and comments on the 2024 Subaru Outback Touring XT down in the comment section below. I want to give a huge thanks to Subaru for lending this vehicle and letting me take it up here to Road America to the Mama Spring Rally. Definitely helps me out and gives me a chance to experience some of these vehicles in a slightly different environment where I don't normally get to drive them either as far or for as long a time inside of the actual cabin. So huge thanks to them. Make sure to check out some additional Subaru content I have here on the channel. And as always, hope to see you guys in the next one.